Long Beach at the IMS show, the fourth show in the big series of shows every year, starting with AIM Expo in Florida, and then the Tokyo show, EICMA in Milan, and now here in Long Beach. And there's been a lot of really cool things going on this year, a lot of new bikes that we're going to talk about. Guys, what was one of the first things that caught your interest?
I thought the one I saw was a new KTM 1290 GT with hard bags. Put a big kind of a traveling windshield on it, cruise control. But I was kind of disappointed to learn when I talked to our KTM guy, that's going to be a 2017 model in the US, which means it probably won't be here until late in the fall. So if you wanted one of those, you'll have to maybe get the Africa Twin. See the Africa Twin down here?
Which the Africa
For the
Twin
first
actually
time?
counts as the first bike we were excited about because that was at EICMA a year ago.
Yeah. And now it's a year later and the Africa Twin is here. I worry it'll be a day late and a dollar short. List on the Africa Twin is $13,999
For the base.
Did you hear that?
So
if that's true, that's a pretty good deal on that bike.
And it's only $700 more for the DCT. So it had some really interesting features to it. A G mode that you switch, that gives you a more linear response to the rear tire from the throttle. The ability with the flip switch to disable anti-lock brake in the rear, yet still keeping it in the front. You know, the impression I got was it was with a thumb switch, and that really
was a little.
Yeah, it really intrigued me.
The one KTM that was here we were excited to see was the new 690 Duke. That's going to be quite a fun little motorcycle as soon as we get our hands on it. But our first guy to get his hands on it is going to be Evans over here when he leaves in about, 5 days for that press launch?
Yeah, we do that. And I'm having trouble talking because I'm salivating so much over this bike. I liked it in its original form, and now to know that it's got a slipper clutch, I just think that's going to be totally fun.
But the $13,000 question is, what's it going to cost next year?
It's going to cost $8,999.
Oh, not bad.
Yeah.
It's going to have 73 horse, which is 7% more than the previous one. TFT display, ABS. I'm really jealous of you.
Yeah. So,
Given the choice, so Troy, wouldn't you want to go ride the SV650?
Obviously, it sounds like Suzuki heard all of our insults.
It was us.
Yeah. And this new SV650 that Suzuki has finally revealed to us has me very excited. Over 140 changes to the engine and chassis, 60 alone in the engine, 18 pounds lighter than the last SV650, with all the basic characteristics that made the original SV such a cool bike. It's supposed to be, anyway, all back for 2017, which is the weird thing. They're going to release the bike halfway through the 2016 calendar year as a 2017 model, and here they are in, what is this?
They had one that looked like it was in production trim.
Did you catch the list price for that?
Not out yet.
Yeah, so Harley-Davidson, they introduced a couple of new models today, bringing, I think, their total count of models up to 38, right? 38 Harley-Davidsons that you can go down to a Harley-Davidson and pick from right now.
There's a lot.
Was it 5 new models for this
Was it
year?
5 only?
Or was it more? It was a surprising number.
But they highlighted those two down there, the all
Yeah.
blacked out S models, so that was pretty cool.
but those 5 new models are all versions of existing bikes.
But a couple of them get the 110 cubic inch motor this year that they didn't have before. It's not really new, but will be new when they go into the pre-existing model.
But what's new about
But
it?
they attach an S to.
Yeah, they used to only allow those in the CVO package, so that's kind of a big deal because it's bringing that big engine in at a significantly lower price.
Harley also said to expect more S models to become available as the years go on.
I'm really intrigued by the Scout 60, which is based on the same platform. You know, a smaller engine, one fewer gears and stuff like that. It's kind of interesting because that's a direction I didn't expect them to go with this engine at all. I expected them to go sportier.
Yeah,
And so-
well, I think that they're pretty obvious the reason they're going that direction. It's $89.99. They brought the price point down from what was the original one was $11,000.
Yeah, $10.99.
They chopped off a bunch of money to make it more accessible to more guys. So if they can, that must have been an expensive gear pair because I'm going to guess everything else is kind of the same. There's a little bit less trim on the.
They've said in the press release that it has the same suspension, braking, and chassis.
That's one of the things we didn't like about the first one was it had pretty cheap shocks.
Well, yeah. You know,
they're keeping the cheap shocks.
But no one complained about the brakes, if I remember correctly.
No, it has great brakes, great motor, decent gearbox.
I thought it was a good gearbox, especially from a company that had trouble with gearboxes Polaris had clunky gearboxes, and this was pretty slick shifting, comparable to some sport bikes, I thought.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great bike for $89.99. It's pretty much already fait accompli. It's gonna be a bargain for that kind of money.
Yep.
About like what Troy will have to pay for a SV650.
Ducati had a lot of announcements this year. It's clearly
Crazy number.
a big time for them. Our friendly little middleweight 899 that was awful big for a middleweight is now going to be a 959. I talked to Ducati about this, and they got an official answer for that. Middleweight means middleweight. It doesn't mean XCCs. It means middle of the weight range, middle of the performance range. And guess what? The top of the performance range has moved on. So yeah, Ducati though, I think it's awesome that they didn't just do a stylized enduro version of the Multistrada. That thing has got a completely bespoke gull arm, swing arm that's pretty nice. They paid attention to little details. Obviously, it's got real off-road rims with really strong lacing of the spokes outside of the tire bead. And it's got stamped levers, which you look at and you're like, oh, those look cheap compared to the nice swoopy cast ones. But stamped metal bends and can be bent back most of the time. And in an off-road situation, that's a really good thing. A cast one is very likely to snap if you do it. And anyone who rides off-road knows you bend levers all the time.
I'm excited about every single one of the bikes in the Ducati range, but I think for me, I never thought I would say this, I'm most excited about the Diablo. Sorry I didn't yell it out loud, but I'm most excited about the Diablo.
Because you're old now.
I think it looks, maybe because I'm getting older, who knows? I think it looks awesome.
Yeah,
I'm really excited to ride it, and it's weird that that's the Ducati I'm most excited about.
We've got the 939cc versions of the Hypermotard and Hyperstrada, and you have all these sexy bikes, all these expensive special bikes or whatever. Of all of those, the one I'd buy to ride around in the real world, absolutely. A 939 Hyperstrada sounds like a great street sport bike.
If I had to choose a style of bike that's really hot right now, I'd say it's the Scramblers. Do you think that's a good thing or something else? What do y'all think?
It's a good thing if you like scramblers.
And I do. But I mean, we've got everything from that, the Mondial hipster scrambler style bike that was announced at EICMA this week to the R9T scrambler. We've got the whole scrambler line over at Ducati with the new 400 engine, and I'm just scratching the surface, it feels like.
I think no matter how you feel about scramblers themselves, it's a good thing when it's bringing new people into motorcycling or it's getting people re-interested in motorcycling. And I personally think it's a trend, and about the time you see a couple of different major manufacturers jump on the bandwagon, I think it's probably going to be playing out and that trend's going to pass. However, it really helped Ducati out last year, right? They made a ton of money on the Scrambler line. It was easily their biggest success story last year.
I'm going to Spain to ride the new Triumph Bonneville, which I saw down here for the first time. The Thruxton looks really cool with the wire wheels and all that. The T120 is different than the Speed Twin.
The Street Twin it's 900 cc's, but
Street Twin. Street Twin. Right?
Street Twin, yeah. It's 900 cc's, but that's it. It's not necessarily an example of the smaller displacement, but we're going for a lower price bike to lure in younger riders with coolness and flexibility, like Ducati did with their Scramblers. So the Street Twin has a Scrambler kit, which comes with a aftermarket exhaust and other off-roady features.
But as cool as the new Triumphs are, the Bonnevilles and the Street Twin, the Thruxtons are, don't you kind of think they missed a boat with, of all things, the Scrambler?
I've been really puzzling over it because they've had a scrambler for what, 10 years now?
Forever.
Yeah, and it's one of the ones that did not get the new motor. And so I'm really perplexed about that, and I was asking them about that today, and of course I got no definite answers. They said, well, we got the scrambler kit. Yeah. And so, but I was really surprised in London when they announced it that they had no scrambler.
Maybe the reason why Triumph didn't come back with a scrambler is because they've had enough time to realize that taking a 500-pound bike off in the mud's not really that great.
Well, speaking
that's something that the new manufacturers are gonna discover. Anyhow, I hope there's more kids coming in. I don't
So now
know
we
if
need
you
to
see a younger
there have to be.
crowd coming in or not.
There have to be. The scrambler is largely a younger crowd. The sub 400cc class that is doing so well is generally a younger crowd. Now there's lots of exceptions to that, but generally a younger crowd. So it's clear that
It's happening.
some stuff is gaining tractions with millennials, and that is exactly what the industry was searching for desperately since 2005-ish, and got real serious about it in 2008. So yeah, I think I'm really actually pretty optimistic that those guys will end up looking, instead of at fashion accessories for their third bike or whatever, they'll start looking at what bike's the best to ride, which is what we all care about, right? And the manufacturers, like they're doing right now, will continue to pour R&D into making us even more amazing bikes every single year.
That's it for us from Long Beach. It's been a really great show. I think we've had a really good discussion about what's been going on. There's a bunch of shows yet to come all across the country. If you are interested in seeing some of the bikes we're talking about, make sure you go to the website, find out where the show is locally, and get down and check it out yourself.